Hello and welcome back to another Microsoft Flight Simulator video. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Honeycomb Bravo and the Honeycomb Alpha. A few months back, when Flight Sim 2024 launched, I did a video of how to get the Honeycomb Bravo to get set up properly in Flight Sim 2024. Well, in this video, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper with some tips and tricks that I figured out. Stay tuned. So the Bravo is by default okay with Flight Sim 2024. There are some settings that have been changed that I prefer myself. And now what I first recommend is going back and watching that video I made for the Honeycomb Bravo, because a lot of the settings are the exact same with some minor tweaks. And one of the tweaks that I found is the reverser. In some planes, the reverse mode doesn't work with the settings that I have set up. For example, the EJET, I also think the CRJ, and the 737. However, the A319, the Kodiak, the 777 seem to have no issues with that setting. It's just other planes, for some reason, don't have that working properly. And the trick that I found to make it work is by just binding a button for reverse. So what we're going to do first off is look at the Honeycomb Alpha, and this is assuming you have that that yoke as well with the Bravo. Now I know people don't, but this may work still. You just need to have some sort of button assigned to it. So what I have is on the knob here, on the left-hand side of the knob, I have the button pushed down. Okay, so this button here is pushed down. So I'm going to go to search input and pull down on it. And that button is going to be hold throttle reverse thrust, which means that when I hold that button down, I pull it down and I pull forward on the Bravo, it will then engage reverse thrusters. But I have to hold that button down throughout the whole time for the reverse to kick in. And then when I'm done with reverse, I'll bring the throttles back down to idle and release that button. If you release that button with the throttles up still, the plane will go from reverse to whatever the throttle quadrant is currently at. So example, I have it currently set on max. If I were to hold down that reverser, it's going to go max reverse. The moment I let go of that, it's going to go to full throttle. So keep that in mind. You do have to bring it back down. Now, again, this doesn't work with some planes. It works with other planes. The other trick works just fine. And that other trick is if you go into the Bravo throttle quadrant, which I have here, you can see I have it on my plane profiles for the EJET, which is fantastic. So now if I go search for input and I bring it back up, it's going to show I have none. Why? Because I have one throttle set for reverse. So now if I go in here and I search for input and I pull it back, bring it back up, you're going to see all the detents in there already. So you can see throttle 1 and throttle 2, I all have assigned to one quadrant. Now I like using two of them, so I have a band that's connected that allows me to move both of them. But what it's currently set up to is throttle 1, previous dedent, throttle 1, decrease. And it also has the hold in there. The problem is once you go down, once you release out of this position all the way down and try going up, the reverse doesn't work. But with some planes, if you go down like this, it's taking the throttle decrease and the throttle 1 previous detent into effect. Also the decreased throttle. So it's allowing you to pull back the throttles for full reverse. Now, you can certainly use the trick in the other the one I just showed you, which is hold down throttle reverse and go all the way up in every plane you want. It's up to you, your preference on that. Okay, so we have that set out of the way. I also, in my Bravo, I like to use the flap key on the left here. It's just what I like to do. I also have on the far right here, there's a little switch. I use that for my yaw damper. So now if I go in here and I search for input and I hit the button, it's going to show yaw damper, which means that when it's set in the up position, right? So when I flick it up, then it shows that the yaw damper's on. When I switch it down, the yaw damper is off, okay? And I also use up here, this one here for the pitot heat. Oh, it's not working. Actually, no, I think I disabled that in select planes. Yeah, I did disable that in select planes, but I used to use that one as my pitot heat. I did take it off because the 737, the MAX, is kind of goofy in Flight Sim 2024. This one here is for fuel pump, and then the second one for fuel pump as well. And I think I also use something here as well. Yeah, toggle ignition switch. So with the Kodiak, for example, if you go into the start position on the Alpha, sometimes you still need to get the master switch to engage. So what happens is I switch that one on, right? And then I go into start mode, and then it will go ahead and turn on the engines. Another thing is, of course, this is from the other video, but the blue handle here is the prop. And then, of course, I have the conditioner and mixer set up on the red one there. I have those both in the detent position when I'm not using them. Okay. Now, when it comes to the Alpha, it's pretty much set up the way it is in Flight Sim by default, with some minor changes. I do use the knockers at the top of it here, which I'm going to bring up on the screen because you really can't see them in the video itself. So we go down here to the the Alpha control, these knockers here. So I use the top one for beyond ATC, which means I move it to the right, and that will do the first command in beyond ATC. And I like that, works really well. Of course, I use the lights, the avionics, and all that jazz, all default stuff. Now, when it comes to the hat switch at the top, so this guy here, what I like to use is, I'm going to bring it up on the screen here. So I'm going to search for input, and we're going to go up. We're going to do it again here. Search for input, let it load up. I don't know why this takes so long sometimes. We go up. I have the toggle arm spoilers set for the POV up. So the up on the hat switch up here. And that's just my personal thing. So I like to be able to toggle the hat switch. Toggle the arms with that button. And then I have the master cutoff for the autopilot for down. Okay. So autopilot off. If you've flown in the sim before, you know that sometimes the toggle auto master switch doesn't turn off. Well, it turns off the autopilot, but for example, in the Phoenix, you'll hear the second alarm. So to silence that, I use the autopilot off button. Okay, so I can go down once, that disabled autopilot, down again, and that disables the master caution telling you that autopilot's been disabled. And it's really nice to have in the Phoenix. I think also the Boeing 777 also has that noise as well, which is really nice to have. Instead of going and finding the button on the screen, the clear button, you can just go down, and that disables all of it. So hopefully this video helped you a little bit with some of the tricks with the Bravo and Alpha. Now, another thing to keep in mind is you can adjust the sensitivity, and you can do it based on any plane you want. So for example, here I have the Airbus settings for my Alpha. Okay, so I have a control set up just for the Airbus. If I go to hardware setting, you can see I have a sensitivity on here. So I have it down 0.6 on the X and 0.6 on the Yankee. Okay, so that allows less sensitivity, allows a little bit more ability to turn the yoke and it not be as aggressive. And I like that a lot when it comes to select planes. Now, if we switch our plane here, so for now, we're going to switch our plane real quick. I'm going to show you what I have for the CRJ, because the CRJ is a bit more of a sensitive plane. So I'm going to wait for it to load up here for a couple seconds. And then we're going to be able to see here on the left, I have a CRJ for the Alpha. And if we go into settings here, I have the exact same things for the CRJ as well. Okay, and now there are some planes you don't need as much of a change. And I think that is, do I have that with the 777? Let me just verify real quick, because now I'm curious. So we load into the 777 now. This is really nice about 2024 is you can go ahead and change the controls on the fly with any plane you like. Yeah, so I do have just Airbus as my controls for the Alpha. So every plane seems to have that Airbus, although I think I have a Kodiak one here too, which I think is just the default one. Let me just verify, because I think I disabled the ignition switches and the avionics for the Airbus. So I have a CRJ one, which I think, again, is the same one. And then you have a Kodiak one. And now with the Kodiak profile, again, I should be able to just click on this, and I can see I have my master master switch here. And then I also have my ignition here as well, right? Yeah, the magnetos are on there. But with the other planes, I have it disabled. So that allows me to still keep the profile I want for the planes and don't have those interfere with the plane itself. Let's bring this back to Airbus so I don't forget. But again, hopefully this video helped you a little bit. If you have any tips when it comes to the Honeycomb products, the Alpha, the Bravo, Charlie, I don't have the Charlie pedals, I have the Turtle Beach rudder pedals. But if you have any tips for any of that, drop it in the comment down below, and we'll see you for next video. Take care.